that wall that you put up, and just kind of don't let anybody know how you're feeling.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Have you
You know,
noticed?
no, but you
Okay.
know why that makes sense to me?
Why?
Because you kind of unthaw, when your stuff, when you've been kind of shut down for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start to, like, your body is transitioning, right? You're kind of tapering off some of your medications, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so your body is adjusting, and it means that, your body may be going into this protective mechanism of kind of blocking some things out so you can manage things.
Mm-hmm.
If you were just suddenly flooded with things, it would be too hard to manage. So
Yeah.
sometimes our body kind of goes on autopilot where we kind of shut these things down or we put them aside.
That's how I feel. I feel like I'm kind of just floating through all of this. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like, of course, I know everything that has happened this past year is real, but it's almost like looking at it from an outsider's perspective. Like I'm not in it. I'm kind of just reading somebody else's life or looking at somebody else's life as things are happening. So I feel like I'm not in touch with it emotionally right now. And I don't know why. Because I was very in touch with my emotional side when we first started the podcast. And now I feel very closed off. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's
Well,
weird.
it might just be something to notice, right? And
Yeah.
to um kind of just kind of like when I think about when we were podcasting with Jen and she was talking about emotions, right? Like you just want to sort of notice them, right? You don't even have to do anything about it at this point. You might just be
Hmm.
noticing this is where you're at right now. And there's probably good reasons behind it.
Yeah.
So,
And like Jennifer said, you've been watching a lot of TV,
Hmm.
and that's another way that you're handling this. You're distracting yourself,
Yeah.
and that could be
Sleeping,
that sleeping. That could,
TV.
yeah, that could be really good for you right now.
Hmm. Like I'm overwhelmed with other things that are going on, like with finding a place and like shit like that. I'm just I realized that I'm back in that avoiding state of like I know I got all this shit to do, but I'm just gonna sleep. I know I got this to worry about, but I'm gonna watch my show. I'm really like closed off is the best way I can put it. I feel closed off from my emotional side of things right now. I don't know. That's just the
okay.
best way I know how to put it. I don't know how to, like, I don't know. Like I think about my dad, you know, but like I'm almost avoiding thinking about my dad too much, right?
Really,
Yeah. Like I'm trying to do other things to distract myself, whereas before my whole life was kind of out in the open with this podcast, and then like coming to talk about it, I was okay because I had so much to say because I had so many feelings. And right now I'm closing those feelings off. I don't know how I'm doing it, but it's happening. So I feel like I don't have a lot to say like I did before because I'm not letting myself feel all those feels. I'm just closed off and distracting myself. And I'm not doing it intentionally. It's just happening and I don't know how. So,
Well, even though there's some mysteries around this, it sounds to me like you've got some insight, like you're thinking about how you're doing and you're noticing how you're doing. And you're noticing that, some things are feeling, maybe there's some protective factors here happening, right? Rather
yeah.
than feeling things, you're choosing to distract right now. And, it's an important time to tune into yourself and notice what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
or you could face the demons.
But that's what I'm saying is I don't know how to do that because I don't even know how I'm putting this blockage up right now. It's not like it's overbearing, like, I can't handle it. It's just like out of sight, out of mind. I'm avoiding it, but I don't know how I'm avoiding it. I know I watch TV, you know, I know I sleep a lot lately, like a lot lately,
And you clean a lot.
and I clean a lot. And those are all distracting mechanisms from my emotional shit.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
but in order to stop doing it, I don't know how to stop doing it because I don't know how I even ended up doing this or why I ended up putting this blockage up recently. So how do you stop something that you don't know how you started?
Well, I think you're doing it actually, because what you're doing is you're saying, I'm noticing something is shifting with me. You're noticing.
Mhm.
And you're noticing how you're distracting and you're noticing how it's impacting you. And you've got some questions around it. And the answers will come. The answers will come. I do wonder about, sometimes when we notice that we're kind of detaching a little bit, it can,
That's a great word, detaching. That's how I feel. Is I was like attached at the hip to my emotions for fucking like months, and now I'm slowly like and there's like a brick wall down the middle.
so
Oh.
sometimes detaching can kind of be like putting on a brake to say, I'm going to slow this down a little bit. Detaching can be, oh, this feels like a little bit too much, so I'm just going to detach from it a little bit. It can be very protective. It can be
Mhm.
our body's way of kind of protecting ourselves to say, oh, this feels like a little bit too much than I can manage, or more than I want to take on right now.
Mhm.
So, maybe things are shifting in terms of what you want to put your attention on. So maybe there's more to uncover, and it might not all be, you know, maybe you're not understanding it all today, but this sounds like a really good place to be in terms of tuning into what's going on for you, noticing
Mhm.
what's going on for you. And if you feel yourself detaching more than you want to, then grounding is what brings you back,
Right.
right? Grounding. So
That's why
maybe
I
we
think,
talk about,
yeah, I think at this point now, because I feel detached from kind of everything going on, I feel like I might be in this position, yes, because I put up this roadblock or whatever it is, but also because I'm not taking the time to answer questions about my dad like I was, to answer questions about my addiction like I was, like my active addiction, like it's not so close in time frame anymore. It's kind of further apart. And I think I would benefit actually from going and doing this rehab program or any type of program that puts me in a box with my feelings again, that puts me in a position to answer questions about this specific category: grief, loss, addiction. you know I need to kind of be thrown to the back to the wolves kind of deal so that I can get reattached somehow, because like I said, it's not that I don't think about my dad, but I don't take the time to feel bad about it anymore, or to cry about it, or to accept it. I'm just not thinking about it and attaching myself to what happened. I put a roadblock up, and I think it would be a great time to get back into it, because whereas before don't get me wrong, I talk about it with you guys once a week on the podcast, not so intimate the way it was before. But I think that's also because the topics that we're doing, I don't have to answer certain questions because they're not being asked, right? And that's a good thing, because I don't want to answer them, right? I don't want to talk about it. But I think if I was thrown back into a rehab or smart recovery or meetings once a week, to where this is the main thing that they talk about, and it's about me. It's not just a generalization of addiction. It's about my addiction. What's happening with me? I can tell stories about myself, and I can connect how those stories affect my emotions. And I just think it'd be great to do something.
you know what I love about this? I don't know if you see it.
No.
You know what I really love about this?
What?
Is you're being really authentic with yourself right now. This isn't about somebody telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
This is about you thinking about what you need and want for you.
Yeah.
And it's
Before-
scary. It's scary because it's
Yeah.
also bringing up like you're kind of freaking yourself out with, oh, how come I'm not feeling, or how come I'm not connecting, and right. But I also hear that, you know, what's shifting for you is you're kind of wrestling around with what you need. And it's not about what others are telling you to do.
Right.
It's about you kind of tuning into yourself and thinking about what you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we talk about this today? Do you want to talk about your dad today? Should we check in with some, like, should we make this the,
Yeah, I think this would be great.
Well, I think we are. I started recording.
but do you want to start us off with an intro and then we'll pull these pieces into it after?
Yeah, I have a good idea. Hello, everybody. Welcome to podcast 20 something. I don't
Which
know what
one
it
is
is.
it? 26? 25?
Welcome to podcast 26.
Is it?
27.
27.
Previously on Flowers for Zoe, Stories for Dennis.
Sometimes shame comes in when you're speaking to somebody that hasn't done those darkest things that you have done because they haven't been in the situation where they had to do it the way you have.
And now coming up on the show.
I know that he's proud of me. I know that he's so happy about
Oh, hell
where
yeah.
things are right now.
What do you think he's not happy about? Today's podcast is a Zoe's Recovery Diary number 7. If you find today's episode activating, please reach out and talk to somebody. If you find the discussion helpful, please share the link with others. Hello, everybody. Welcome to podcast number 26. So we just did 2 podcasts with guests, and it's been a while since we've all been here, but the last time we were all here together, we did a podcast on sobriety. And in that podcast, Laura recites a little piece of writing by Dennis. And we never really got a chance to talk about that. Bear with me, but Dennis's piece of writing, it's called No Thank You. And at the end of it, he says, so no thank you, fish. And that got me right away because it reminds me of a piece written by David Foster Wallace. David Foster Wallace is an American poet. And he died in his 40s from suicide after living a life of depression. And he gave a commencement speech, I believe it is, to a group of graduates, and it's called This is Water. He starts off by telling a story of 2 fish swimming along, and off in the distance, they see an older fish, and the older fish swims by and says, hey boys, how's the water this morning? And the 2 fish wave and they say hi and they swim along. And then as they're swimming, one fish turns to the other fish and says, what the hell is water? I'm not going to do it justice, but it's kind of like a Matrix. You know, when Neo's taking the blue pill or the red pill, and he takes the red pill and all of a sudden he sees reality. Well, David Foster Wallace was talking about the importance of looking at your life from 5,000 feet up, at the whole thing, and realizing, what is my reality? And that's what the 2 fish did. They don't even know what water is. What the hell is water? But they're living in it. And it's surrounding them. It's not just the fish that reminds me of your dad's writing. It's the looking at your life, because when your dad was writing this, he was looking at his life. And I just want to read this really quickly. I want to read what your dad wrote. He says, "No, thank you. I decline. I don't want you anymore. Something I have never felt. New feels. I don't like it. All or nothing at all. Forever extremes, it seems. Never a medium. No middle ground. Back and forth, end to end. But does it? Life will never be simple or still. Forever hurdles in the way. And I don't seem to be moving this way. So no thank you, fish, not today." And your dad, when he was writing this, he was looking down from 5,000 feet and saying, "I don't like this and I don't want this anymore." And it was a real moment for him. And there's a date on this letter, right? 2009. And we know that he had that battle. He had that battle within. And we know he came out. He had a good life after 2009. So we never got a chance to talk about that. And it's such a great piece of writing. And right now I see Zoe doing the same thing. Zoe's looking at her life from 5,000 feet up. And she's saying, "No, thank you." It's a really nice piece of writing. I really like it. No, thank you, fish.
Me too. That was so great. Everything you just said was so great. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say.
Oh,
It
I
was
mean,
great.
I haven't read much of David Foster Wallace, but your dad would have fell in love with his writing. Your dad he was such a writer. Oh my God. I can't believe that. It's exciting to me.
I can't wait to read more of my dad's stuff because there's so much of it that I've never seen. Right? It's personal. His writings were personal. He didn't share them with people.
He should have
Right?
ripped them up because now they're going to be read.
Oh, I'm so happy he didn't rip them up. I am so happy.
I feel kind of mixed about it. There's poems and passages that he wrote for people, which I think those are nice to share. But then, like, how do you feel about reading somebody's journal?
It's true. It is true.
Like, I just think about that piece, right? Like, I think when it comes to like the things that we write in our journal, like, let's face it, anytime you write in your journal, it's usually a lot of extremes, right? It's in the
Mhm.
low points of your life where you're like struggling and you're like a mess, or it's
Mhm.
like the high points of your life where you're like all in bubbles and,
You don't write when everything is just going.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
So,
understandable. It's just, when I hear things that he's written or when I look at the papers that he's written on and in his font of writing, it just makes me feel so close to him, I guess. Uncle Daniel gave me one of his to-do lists that he came across. And it's like when I look at it, I just feel like that's my dad's writing. Like he was writing on this piece of paper at one point. And it just makes me feel nice.
isn't that something how something like a to-do list that we sometimes think is just so insignificant, right? Becomes something so important and cherished.
I love that to-do list. It was a budget,
Mm-hmm.
and he was taking care of shit.
Yeah.
He was on his way, before he died. He was on his way to cleaning up his life. I hate saying that. Not cleaning up his life. He was on his way to straightening out his finances, paying off some debts that he had. And it meant a lot to him to pay off debts.
It did.
Yeah.
And his to-do list had people on it. Buying birthday cards.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a few of his to-do lists. It's a regular day-to-day fucking to-do list. Things I write every day that, like you said, seem so insignificant that mean so much now to have.
Well, does it make you think differently about your own to-do list?
Kind of now, yeah, because it's like, I don't like to think of death. Like, I don't. But, it makes me now think about the podcast that we're doing, the videos that we record weekly. Like, I'm going to be here forever. You know what I mean? Like, my kids are going to have so much to watch of me speaking about them, how much I love them, like the things that I do for them on a day-to-day basis so that they can have a good life,
I love that too. I like that aspect. Unlike you, I do think about death,
Mm.
but being prepared and writing things down and knowing that, it's going to be here even past your lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing, like I probably said it a few times. Like, I know you guys have thought it. I wish there were more recordings of my dad instead of him behind the camera doing the recording or taking the pictures. Right? Because it's one thing to have pictures, but it's a whole nother thing to have a video of somebody laughing or talking, or you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah, it is.
that's why I really want to talk, because I know for sure things I've never seen, videos, pictures, um, writings, journals, photos that he's drawn, artwork. Like, there's so much there that I haven't been in a space to see yet, because I just wasn't ready, because it was a lot to take in. And now I'm ready. Now I want to see this. It makes me feel the same way I feel about like not listening to our podcast. Like, that first time I listen to them is going to be like a smack in the face. Like, holy shit, this is what we have been through this past year. And it's intimidating to me. Like, it's very intimidating to make the choice to listen to them.
Yeah, I wonder how you're gonna react to it. I mean, we were talking about this earlier and we went back and we listened to one of the earlier episodes, episode 4, fentanyl withdrawal. And it's our highest ranking episode. So we all listened to it. You didn't listen to it though, did you, Zoe? No. It was a really interesting exercise.
Yeah.
And like Lara said, there's a lot of emotions. So when you do decide to listen, prepare yourself.
With this whole blockage that I was talking about, this roadblock, I think I need to be kind of thrown to the wolves and face like my reality of what has happened and where I am and the obstacles that I faced, that we've all faced together as a family, as a team, where we are now. I need to get hit with it, because I'm like I said, I'm not in touch with my emotional side of things right now, and I want to be. I don't want it to be overwhelming of not being able to handle it, but I want to have those days where I can look at a picture of my dad and have a conversation with him, right? Like, and I haven't done that in a long time. And I want to, because I like to do that. I miss doing that. But like I said, I'm doing other things to distract myself from having those conversations with him. And I think that's why it's so hard for me to give him the updates that I desperately want to at the end of our podcasts. But it's so hard to do that, not being in touch with my emotional side right now. It's very hard. I don't know what to say or where to begin or how to even say anything.
Do you think
Right?
if your dad could be looking down right now, do you think you let him down with what
No,
you've done in this last year?
no,
He's proud as
not at
shit.
all.
He's so
Yeah,
proud.
I know he is.
Because I remember when you guys were both here living here, oh my God, he was on your case a lot.
Oh my
Zoe,
God,
did
about
you do this? Zoe,
everything.
did you do that? Zoe, you got to do this.
Everything. And it
He
was so
wouldn't
frustrating.
stop.
And you know why? I know he did it because he cared and he loved me
Yeah.
and he just wanted me to get my shit done. But it's like, you out of all people, Dad, know how I feel right now. I don't want to do fucking nothing. And you know that feeling. You know how it feels to be sick, and you're the one who's on my ass the most out of everybody. Come on, like, bear with me a little bit. You know what I feel like right now, and you still push me to the fucking limit to get shit done.
He did.
Yeah.
He really did, didn't he?
Almost like he didn't understand what it felt like, you know, but he did more than anybody.
Yeah.
I think he just didn't want me to give up entirely. He wanted me still to do what I had to do.
Yeah. It meant the world to him. Like that was his purpose in life.
Yeah. So I know that he's proud of me. I know that he's so happy about
Oh, hell yeah.
where things are right now.
What do you think he's not happy about?
That I haven't gone to get my G2 yet. He was always on me, Zoe, buy a car. Zoe, get your full license done. Zoe, stop driving without a license. Zoe, it was always about my license, always about a vehicle. He took me to get my license the one time.
Oh, he did, eh?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. I drove his car. Yeah, so I think he wouldn't be too happy about that. And I'm gonna say, like, maybe he wouldn't be too happy that I'm not in school or working, but I think under the circumstances of everything that, you know, we've done this past year and just getting stable once again, getting off of drugs, being on the program stably, like, I don't think he would be so hard on me not being in school yet or not working. I think that it's only been a year. You know what I'm saying? It's only been a year. As far away as my active addiction seems, I need to really be truthful and be accurate. It's only been 1 year.
Yeah.
And it's not very long. A year is not long at all. It feels like forever ago, but it's not. So I believe that he wouldn't be too upset about that. I think the main thing he'd be upset about is my license. He would really be on my case for that because he's been on my case since I was 16 years old. Zoe, you got to get your license. Zoe, you need a vehicle. Zoe, you have Talia, you need to be able to drive. You need to get places. You need a car to go to school. You need a car to go to work. You need your car. So that's the main thing he'd be
It's good to know that he's still in your head.
yeah.
You hear him saying all those things.
Oh, I do. I
Yeah.
do. Just like I hear him say, Zoe, why do you swear so much? Like, he would always complain about how much I swore. And then about how loud I am. Why do you have to be so fucking loud, Zoe? I can hear him. I can still hear him. I'm just hyper, right? Like, I'm very, I don't know. Just
Yeah,
loud.
you have what do people call it? A lively personality, center of attention. You control the room when you walk into it. It's a very
But yeah, when I am the
you're
center
very
of
charismatic.
attention, yeah, but when I am the center of attention, it's almost like I have to be, but then when I am, I don't want to be. When I notice that all eyes are on me, I kind of back up like, okay, like, I said that too loud. I gotta be quiet. Right? I have to, like, tame myself.
Yeah, you remind me of my dad a lot.
Yeah.
a lot. You have that same life in you almost.
Yeah.
And you carry it very well. It looks good on you. You know, the other two podcasts that we did, we had Jennifer Van Wyk join us, and that was incredible. We learned all about emotions. Then we had Sarush, and Sarush taught us all about smart recovery.
Yeah. It's crazy because now what we're talking about, well, what I was just talking about now about, having that blockage up kind of goes with the whole reason why I feel like I didn't speak too much in the podcast with Jennifer because I was so out of touch with that side of myself, right? And then the whole topic that we had with Sarush was about smart recovery. So on one hand, I'm like, I'm not in touch with my emotional side. And on the other hand, I'm like, I need to go back to like a rehab or a program. So both of those topics that we had the past two podcasts all
Yeah.
came into one this time with me. I'm like, this is what I need. I need to go to smart recovery. I need to get in touch with my emotional side of things. Put those two together, and that's what you got. This is what I got to do. So it all came down to it was a good thing. Both those topics were great because it really put me in perspective of what I need to do for myself.
I'm just bringing this up. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Smart recovery.
Yeah.
If you want to look for a meeting right now, we can.
I think it's
I-
pretty neat to look at the website and just see how many meetings there are and
Young adults
how,
18 to 30.
yeah, and you can just pick a time that works for you.
For our listeners, right now, I'm on smartrecovery.org. And right from the homepage, you click on meetings and you see a big list of meetings.
So Zoe, you might be interested in the young adult.
Yeah,
That's the
that one stood
18
out to me.
to 30. Yeah.
You know
Is
what?
that this one at the top?
Yep.
That is tomorrow, right?
It's on Monday morning or Monday evening.
At 6
Tomorrow
p.m.
at 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to that one. I'll write that down. So I wanted to mention, so there, so I have this new addiction and it's on TikTok and her name is Casey. And she's a recovering addict that's not in like active addiction anymore. And she's a mom. So the videos that she posts, like she's the funniest person. Like if I could meet anybody in this whole fucking world, it would be her. I would meet this girl because she is my idol. Like
What's
I
her
love
name?
her. So her name is Casey and it's Meet the Clarks. It's it's MEETTHECLARKES.
Meet the Clarks.
Meet the Clarks, and her name is Casey.
Should we
Casey.
invite her?
I think we should because honestly, like she's my idol. I think I would get butterflies if she came on here. I wouldn't know what to say because I love her that much. Like she's just I want to be her when I grow up. Like
Oh wow, this is awesome.
Seriously, like I
can't
love
wait to see
her.
this. I
Okay,
want to check
so
it out.
if anyone listening has any contact to Casey at Meet the Clarks, we want her to come on the podcast.